Hi, I am Brett Clarke, and I wanted to talk with you for a few minutes about my paper, which is entitled "A Cat is Not a Battleship: Thoughts on the Meaning of Neuropsychoanalysis." I probably should start with just the title, because I think the title captures at least one important idea. This image uh, of a cat and a battleship came to me at some point along the way and ended up in the title. It stuck with me. But I think for a reason, and the reason is the obvious difference between cats and battleships. But the idea is really to emphasize the difference between a mind and a brain as a way of entering into some thinking about this convergence in neuropsychoanalysis between psychoanalysis and neurobiology. The neuropsychoanalytic narrative often includes this entity called the mind-brain, where the two things are conjoined in a way that is explained away. It's regarded as in some ways unproblematic. It's the same entity being looked at from different perspectives, but it's a very problematic notion that this is the same entity. And the idea of a cat and a battleship, these are two ontologically distinct entities, cats and battleships, minds and brains. They are not the same thing at all. Being different entities ontologically, they are also going to be inquired into and known about in ways that are epistemologically different as well. And, the position that I'm taking, not surprisingly, is that psychoanalysis is in many ways it's a unique discipline. It's certainly a very particular discipline. We're interested in the mind, and we're interested in the mind of individual subjectivities, of individual people. And their subjective experience belongs to them in a way that is irreducible. And also, psychoanalysis is bringing to bear very particular organizing ideas in terms of how we think psychoanalytically, how we understand things psychoanalytically. So there are very particular assumptions and organizing concepts that psychoanalysis needs and uses in order to think and understand psychoanalytically. A few other things too. The neuropsychoanalytic narrative often includes this idea of continuity between the early Freud, the neurologist Freud, and contemporary neuroscience, and that neuropsychoanalysis represents a kind of fulfillment of Freud's original intention. There's also in that narrative the idea of neuropsychoanalysis and neuroscience rescuing psychoanalysis from sort of the backwater that it has consigned itself to, bringing psychoanalysis into the 21st century through all of these advances in neuroscience. Again, this is part of the narrative that I want to talk about and call into question. My jumping off place for the paper are the two papers by Blass and Carmelli, which I think are fundamentally sound in terms of the points that they're making. My intention is to try to get underneath that a bit and talk about at least what I see as some of the implicit philosophical ideas and commitments that are underlying the arguments that they're making, to give it some anchor. And also to give it give one a better purchase on being able to defend psychoanalysis in a certain way, so that we are not in a position of being vulnerable to being either co-opted or appropriated by disciplines like neurobiology or other disciplines that have a kind of scientific pedigree. I want to problematize that way of thinking so that it isn't done so casually. And and that we recognize what the potential dangers are to analysis if we are not clear about what we are, and also willing to defend the commitments and assumptions that psychoanalysis has always depended on. So I hope that at least gives you some sense of what it's about, and makes you want to read further. Thank you very much.